Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pop Culture Therapy. I'm Advent Nebula.
And I'm Cruellica Kain.
So, we were initially planning, before Colorado Anime Fest, to get together and have a few episodes done, but Cruellica got sick.
Yeah, unfortunately, I went into the hospital again because apparently, after having surgery and spending time in the hospital, I just think it's a cool place to be. And it's really not.
Yeah, so past weekend, during Easter weekend, we were at Colorado Anime Fest. I only attended the day, but Cruellica and Kaiju were there the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what brought up the idea for this episode's podcast, which is...
we are going to be talking about aging in the anime community.
Which, all of us are in our late 30s, early 40s, and you're...
I'm only 27.
Right. But going through, you just notice a real gap with us as the older millennials versus the younger millennials, and just how Gen Z interacts with the convention. And also, with us being older millennials, we tend to gravitate towards a lot of the stuff Gen X is interested in.
Well, exactly. And this is not to say back in my day, because we could go on about that, and most likely we will end up doing so in this video, or in this podcast. But it's really just to kind of highlight how different when you look at the anime community, it really is from, you can even say from the year 2000, but for many of us, it's the 90s.
Yeah.
So looking at from the 90s till now, the anime industry has evolved.
Back from the VHS fan sub days to now it's legally streaming on almost every freaking platform you can imagine.
It's everywhere. And I think as an older anime fan, yes, there is a level of jealousy that comes from it because you're like, seriously? I remember having to bootleg this or get VHS tapes because nobody had it on video, or nobody had it on television. So yes, we can go about that because internet streaming wasn't even a thing until the early 2000s. But to see an Advent, fun there.
Yes, I see.
But to see the opportunity for anime to be everywhere, I actually have to say is kind of cool.
It is. Actually really cool to see. And you're even seeing a disconnect, though, at the same time between the different types of people who attend the conventions based on really where they fall on the spectrum and where they got into anime at the conventions. The Gen Zers that pretty much have only ever known either watching it on YouTube in the parts or the legal streaming.
Yep.
Versus the torrenters versus the ones who actually started in there at the VHS era or the early DVD era before fan subs actually hit the internet.
Well, exactly. So I started my anime interest with VHS. So my first VHS of an anime was Master Mosquiton. And everybody on this view or watching this on YouTube or listening to this anywhere else is be like, what?
Yeah.
Never heard of that series.
And even Discotek now has their DVD releases discontinued of it.
Mm-hmm. But that's just to kind of say how long ago that was. But then in the early 2000s, kind of like with Napster for music, you had a lot of streamers doing torrenting.
Which is when I fell into the anime industry's clutches of, now it's my primary fandom.
Well, exactly. Same here. My primary fandom has always been anime. And the one thing that there are times, and I'm going to mention Silverquill here because he would be a great advocate for this. He feels too old for a lot of anime. And that's one of the challenge of being an older fan in this industry. Is because many animes are geared towards kids.
Yeah.
And not legitimately children because
there's a lot geared towards, like what Kamen Rider is, geared to that older child through teenager, but also has aspects that adults can enjoy.
Exactly. It's more of a mature story, but usually takes place in like a high school or younger adult environment. And
then you have the isekai genre, which is kind of taking over what the mech genre was back in our heyday. Get into it as that genre now that pretty much fills every void and where you can get in.
And when you are in your 30s and 40s, you honestly, at this point in your life, you're like, I don't remember what it was like to be in high school, because at this point in time, nobody had their entire lives recorded on social media.
Yeah.
Which, admittedly, I will say is a benefit for both myself and my family. Because I don't think my mother would ever talk to me again if my life was always recorded on social media. But, and I do YouTube, so what does that say?
I think my parents wouldn't give a shit.
My mom probably wouldn't, but her friends and shit like that would. But it's weird sometimes when you're watching like a wholesome ass anime and you're like, these people are 12. They could be my children. They could be my grandchildren, with the way kids are having children so damn young.
And then there's me who enjoys the ultra violence.
Well, yes. So that I think can work at any age.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really appreciate about younger generations, and this is the younger millennials to the Gen Zers, that there is no issue with being a huge anime fan.
Yeah, they aren't stigmatized for it. That's actually, it's so ingrained in the younger millennial and the Gen Z culture is, that's something that they're going to talk about in school on a regular basis.
Because it's everywhere. It's on your television. It's on your computer. Even television commercials are doing it. Big name actors and actresses talk about the fact that they love anime. Like
Snoop Dogg,
Michael B. Jordan. Recently Kim Kardashian talked about how much she likes
Samuel
anime.
L. Jackson's been a known fan for a whole decade.
And we're just naming a few, but there's dozens and upon dozens of
Robin Williams, rest in peace.
Oh, I know. And he was a gamer, too.
Yeah.
So there's so many, but because they feel more comfortable talking about the fact that they like anime, that the younger generation is more open to being okay with it because people that they are inspired by.
Yeah, and then when you go into the con, it's like Tokusatsu's in that bubble where anime was when we were experiencing it.
Like, oh, you like live action Japanese shows? I can't talk to you. And it's like, seriously. But to be fair, you were a sports kid.
Yeah.
I hung around with the stoners and the cool kids. I couldn't talk about my nerd hobbies. Only like a select few of my friends knew, but that's because I trusted them not to make it like such a big deal and have me outside of the clique.
Now, I know sports kids nowadays, they can talk about it, but when I was in high school, that was like taboo. Don't talk about your interests unless it's Dragon Ball. That's about it.
Well, yeah, because Dragon Ball, as we did on our gatekeeping episode, is apparently not an anime.
Yeah, it's one of those that is so mainstream, people don't even realize it's one.
Well, and some anime fans are like, oh, if you like Dragon Ball, then you're not a true anime fan, which is BS completely. But when you age in the anime community, having done this for over 20 years now, I have to say it's very different. Like when we were at the anime convention this past weekend, there was a very, like you said, a very fine line. You had individuals that were like 36 and over, and then you had like 25 and younger. Not to say that you didn't have people between the age of 35 and 26. You did.
But they did not make up a good chunk of the convention.
No.
You had literally the older millennials and the Gen Xers, and then you had Gen Z making up a good chunk of the, what was it, 10,700 people they announced was the entire weekend attendance?
Yes. So you had like this clear break. And a lot of it can be said that that most anime fans, and I think we've all experienced it as you get older, have those periods of either losing interest.
Because a lot of stuff's coming out that you just can't relate to.
Yeah, a lot of it that you can't relate to, a lot of it being the same as things that you've watched in the past, or you're just not interested in going into those environments again, like the anime community. And truthfully, those individuals that are usually between the age of 26 and 35 usually have a lot more responsibilities in their lives. Not to say that people under or over that don't, but usually when you're a little bit further in your career, you have more flexibility to come and go as you please, where you can request time off and things like that.
Yeah, like me, unless it's a holiday weekend.
Or if you're younger, you're usually in that college age, and around the Easter weekend, which this is where it was, but most weekends, you usually can get off of school fairly easily. And so that's where the challenge comes in when you're in that sweet spot. The other thing that's hard with aging or being of any age in the anime community is just, as we talked about a few times, feeling like you can connect to material. And it's not just like the ultra violence or the wholesome or the horror or action. Sometimes you just want to feel like you as yourself are represented. And this is very closely linked to when you could talk about like diversity in the community.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to have an anime series that you're like, okay, these characters are around my age, or even if they're a little bit younger, like Tiger and Bunny. Great example.
Yeah. Or one that I just recently watched, which, if anybody has not checked out Odd Taxi yet, go watch that. I know you might be thrown off because it's all anamorphic characters and nobody's human, but it tells an adult story, and almost all the characters are in their late 30s and early 40s.
Well, and I always love that when you have a story that you can connect to in some way, which is why even like for the most current tokusatsu series, Dawn Brothers, I actually enjoy it because Kiji brother is older, and I respect that. But with the anime community, it sometimes is hard because if you are, let's say, as an older individual, and it's not like we're ancient or grandparently or anything like that, but even in your 30s and 40s, when you see a lot of people who are at least a decade or more younger than you, sometimes it can feel like you're the odd one out.
Yeah, it can be when you're in a large environment like that. And yeah, we saw it. I mean, you guys walked around. I saw it, and when I was walking around, I saw a lot of kids that were Gen Z just talking about seriousness like, what?
Well, exactly, because, and that's the one challenge to the current environment with anime is, unlike even the early 2000s, only select series were available for people to see unless you torrented it, and because it took so long to torrent anything,
especially if you were on dial-up like I was,
you pick and choose what you did. So you researched the hell out of it before you're like, okay, I'm gonna commit to torrenting this because it
might
forever.
take a week.
Yeah, I remember Napster taking 3 days for a song that's 3 minutes. So
luckily, neither of us had LimeWire because we didn't want to give our computer aids.
No. Netscape was bad enough. Sorry, we're talking about things that nobody has a clue about anymore. Sorry, we are old. But, so with having so many series out there and available, and it being like pumped out because yes, there's been quarterly segments for anime for decades.
And now the way that it's going, it's like we're going to be splitting our series into separate cores over time just so we can animate the whole things.
Well, exactly. And you can have like 20, 30 series now, where even before, in the early 2000s...
I even remember in the early 2000s when you only had 10 to 12 a season.
I know, you'd have 10 to 12 a season. Now you can have 30 to 40 because animation is in times a little bit easier because they can cut corners and they do everything digitally.
Or they do some of the things they do now where they build a studio specifically to start one project, and that way they can get animators in that actually get paid fair rates. Which
is deserved.
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes when you're aging in that community and you're seeing people who are so much younger than you doing things, and it's great. You want people to continue. Even when I was talking to a few of the voice actors, and when we were doing our interviews, which we have posted on the channel, and some of those voice actors are so young.
Yeah, I think the only one you've interviewed that's in our age range over the last year is Kira Birkland.
Thankfully, Chris. Now I can't remember their names, and we just did it a week ago.
Oh, but, Hankley?
Yes, because he is my age.
Yeah, so in the
like 2 to 3 voice actors in my age.
Yeah, and 2 of them you've recently interviewed between Colorado Anime Fest and Komori-Con.
But everybody else is like 2 of them, Laura Stahl and I think it's KG Do or no, Kai Doll.
Yeah, Kai Doll.
Both of them are 21. I've interviewed people who technically I am old enough to be their mother. Yes, I know I'm only 27, which is a lie, as you can hear by his snorting, but...
Your husband's 40. Let's put it this way. He'll be 40 in just a few weeks.
And that would be creepy if I was literally 13 years younger than him. Because I would be the adult in the relationship and...
Well, you already are the adult.
I know, but if I was 13 years younger than him and the adult in the relationship, that would be frightening. But I like aging. At the same time, I like aging in the anime community because at the same time, there is something so like fun because we put in the work. We put in like the torture.
And then one thing I really like and enjoying, especially what Discotech's doing, it's bringing back the old stuff that we grew up on the modern media and the modern streaming, so the younger generation is now getting a idea of what we experienced growing up on.
Well, exactly. So it's kind of giving everybody a chance to experience what we have, not us just experience what is new. So having to go through the time of buying a VHS tape or a DVD that had 3 episodes and waiting like 2 months for the next DVD to come out to have another 3 episodes. When Fruits Basket came out in 2006 and it had 6 episodes on one DVD set, I was ecstatic.
Yeah, we can go back to the old pioneer days when Tenchi Muyo was coming out on DVD.
It took forever just to get one bloody series. So, as the older generation, the geriatric millennials, having the opportunity to age,
and the Gen Xers,
we put in that work, we put in that time, we fought and fought and fought and not fought literally, but fought figuratively by putting hundreds upon hundreds of dollars into buying stuff that we eventually had to rebuy on DVD if we had it on VHS, and then on Blu-ray.
Yeah, now we're rebuy on Blu-ray. Oh, my tool. Leaving Anime News Network to form Discotech was probably the smartest move of your career.
So, to you younger fans of anime who have had the luxury of seeing those half-season sets or those full season sets come out for newer series and having everything at your disposal on streaming, Netflix, television, and Blu-ray so easily.
We envy you.
We envy you, but please thank your older anime fans. Go to a convention and look at... I would love to see if somebody does this too. Go up to an older anime fan. You can tell them we look old. We look tired.
I have gray in my beard.
Yeah, we're haggard. And so we are like old. So you can tell an older anime fan. So come in, say thank you, just appreciate who came before you and who had to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars for bad dubs, bad quality.
Hey, some of those bad dubs have actually turned out to be nostalgic nowadays, so.
Yeah, I'm still afraid of Utna.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some of the stuff that came out from Central Park Media, like MD Geist and Violence Jack.
Oh god, those animes were so bad.
But they're so entertaining because the cheesy dub actually hides the fact it's hiding how bad they are.
Well, exactly. And when you think about it, with like some of our modern dubs, and I know we've gone on video after video about talking about dubs versus subs, but I'm sorry, if you were an anime fan back in the 90s, and VHS was your only option,
You were going to pay for the dub VHS because it was cheaper than the subtitle VHS.
by $5. But you were going to pay for a dub because did you want to read on a VHS tape?
Which, you know, is going to deteriorate if after being watched over and over again.
Oh my god. So, anime fans, please.
Anime fans, I'm tired.
And here's the Silver Quill.
I'm here to represent the older and angrier demographic of all your people.
Are you going to be like Walter Matthau or something from Grumpy Old Men?
I'm gonna go even further back. I'm Santa Claus, damn it. Kids these days don't appreciate things. I've been delivering gifts on and on all the time, and tell you, kids now they all want digital download.
Well, digital download is fun.
Digital download.
Actually, no, it's not. But
It's not. You know why? Because there's no physical media.
oh my god, Kaiju! I didn't know you came in.
I told you I'm Santa Claus, damn it.
Kaiju, where are you?
He's out in the hallway. I'm telling you, I mean, look, you can come in and you can give people these digital versions, but no, I'm all disc. I'm all disc.
What? I actually just got surprised with a PS5.
That's right. And you know what it comes with? It comes with Gran Turismo. I don't know if you play
racing games.
Racing games. But it comes with Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's physical.
You know this is audio only, right?
Well, I've been waving this in front of a camera, gosh darn it, but yeah, it's physical. It's a disc. I'm Santa Claus. Merry Christmas, you yahoos.
Okay, and now Silver Quill has given me 3 things that I'm going to be giving him a major hug for again.
But I'm Santa Claus and I'm out.
But that's all we really have for aging in anime. Thank you, Silver Quill. And Kaiju was like way in the background. I don't think he wanted to come in. Actually, he did come in to hand you that, but he left without even talking. So next, we're going to be coming back to have a fun podcast.
And we're going to be diving into something about the community that has really stuck out to us, God, the last 15 plus years of going to conventions, and that's just how charitable the anime community tends to be.
And how it needs to go beyond that, if it can, outside of just the anime communities.
Yeah.
Or outside of the anime convention.
And just outside the anime convention, but also some of your sci-fi conventions too, because they're some of the only places where I'll actually see this stuff go on that's really helping the community without having to be pushed on social media.
Exactly. So we're going to have fun talking about charity, and maybe we'll encourage Sandy Claus to come back. But with that said, bye!